yet awkward series that I have had the liberty in watching. My whole experience with the show pretty much sums up my anime watching experience in general, loving everything that I started with, but then slowly descending into the madness of consuming too much for my own good until I hated what I've become and question if I'm even remotely normal anymore and if I can even live in normal society. Anyhow, the first season is one of my favorite anime of all time, which is certainly an odd choice considering I really don't like this type of fan service, as well as a lot of the cliche romance tropes that plague OreImo genre. However, something about this show, or at least the first season, sticks with me no matter how many romantic comedies I have seen. I'm sure that I'm going to overstate something that isn't there, but let's just dive right in. I like putting the entirety of OreImo's narrative into three categories: the good, the bad, and the let's not talk about this ever, where the good aspects of the show luckily revolve around the first season, the specials that follow it, and some of the episodes in the first half of season 2. While its initial start may seem bland, overly pandering, and sometimes generic, I found the overall writing of the first season to be well executed. Our main cast has a genuine purpose, there is a conflict that needs to be resolved, and our cast transforms because of said conflict. If you remove the pandering and cliche bits from the storyline, the first season has a good core message on passion and sticking to what you love. Kousaki and Kirino's platonic relationship is able to advance because of this frowned upon hobby, and both are able to create new friendships with people they never thought existed. The narrative also does a good job into looking at the otaku lifestyle and unconventional hobbies for quote-unquote regular people. As seen through the numerous moments throughout the show, just because something is different doesn't warrant it to be bad. Our main cast is able to prove that point and show that the world of eroge and the otaku lifestyle isn't as crazy as the general stigma makes them out to be. Of course, there will always be that outlandish viewpoint when it comes to any fanatic, and OreImo is trying to make a statement that most people are not like this. If I told you that OreImo was a social commentary on the otaku culture and escapism, I'm sure that I would be stretching the goalpost too far. But there are many times in this series, especially surrounding characters like Kirino, Kuroneko, and Sayori, that show us genuine reactions as to why they come back to this hobby. In much the same way as a visual novel, OreImo's multiple routes give opportunities for these specific characters to grow. Even though Kirino is by far one of my most hated characters in all of anime, these different routes or flashbacks allowed her to show a little bit of remorse in her actions towards the people who care about her. Kousaki is also able to interact with almost everyone, which allows those smaller side characters to fill their own roles, as well as giving Kousaki time to build connections with others. Following the conclusion of season 1, its first set of specials, being my favorite episodes of the series, help in branching out the development between Kousaki and Kuroneko. Both characters couldn't be further from each other when it comes to their personalities, but the relationship they soon end up creating because of these moments has a rejuvenated feel to it due to the otaku tendencies that plague Kuroneko's character. As Kousaki and Kuroneko start to experience each other's vastly different worlds, the wheels of social interaction start to turn in Kuroneko's mind, showing that this escapist fantasy she partakes in is only there to cover up her inability to find friendships with others, or at least her earlier desire in not wanting any. This relationship was a big first step into bettering her communication with others because it gave her opportunities to talk to people that she does and does not have a common interest with. And while Kousaki has an understanding of normal society, his experiences with Kuroneko not only help him understand the otaku culture more, but also why Kirino enjoys these things in the first place. With all the fun and enjoyment I had with season 1, I couldn't help but be excited for season 2. They leave us on such a high note and it looked like Kousaki and Kirino's platonic relationship would turn for the better, but then it takes its narrative down a path that I wish it didn't. For the most part, I found the first half of season 2 to be reasonable, or at least fun, as it keeps almost all of the ideas season 1 had, still featuring its take on the otaku obsession as well as new ideas of loneliness, two things that do coincide with each other in the real world. If it stayed on this path, I believe it would make for an interesting look into these two topics, something along the lines of a dumbed down Welcome to the NHK, just with a little more spunk. However, rather than sticking to this path, it moves from those ideas to that of a romance-driven narrative, and thus begins its downfall, causing things to cascade out of control. I like to pretend that the series ends after episode 7 in the second season, just so it doesn't hurt as much due to how bad the rest of the series is in my eyes. One thing I believe OreImo couldn't afford to do is become overly generic. The genre has enough of these already, and even if the animation is of high quality, no one will remember your series if it follows the exact same style of something that has been replicated too many times to count, or they at least won't be impressed by it. Well, they certainly figured that part out, as we then have the second season specials, otherwise known as the true conclusion to the show. And man oh man, do I wish it did not exist. I honestly do not understand the decision in not only changing up the narrative, but also shoehorning in this ridiculous conclusion. I'm all for tackling controversial ideas in film and animation, as it can lead to interesting discussions, especially if they are on real-world topics. But this just came out of nowhere. Not only do I absolutely hate it, but now when someone brings up this series, the first thing that comes into people's minds is the quote-unquote incest anime. Even if it still has that core message about going against normal society, more than anything, the final scene just proves how stupid of a decision it was to switch up its narrative style. After Kyosuke's initial relationship and then breakup with Kuroneko, we have an idea that the only other girl that would like him romantically would be his childhood friend Monami. But in the second half of season 2, suddenly all the girls think that Kyosuke is this perfect guy, turning the series into more of a harem than anything else. Along with this, there was also no logic or reasoning during Kyosuke's confession, and I'm not talking about the taboo topic. One second Kirino says she hates Kyosuke, but then almost immediately says yes to his public marriage proposal. I'm sorry to say that people don't think like this about major life-changing moments, and if they do, get away from them as quickly as possible because they probably are not right in the head. Then we have Kyosuke's idiotic decision in general. Surprisingly, Kirino puts it best in the final episode. Why the heck did you turn down all those quote-unquote hot girls to be in a very short-lived romantic relationship with your little sister? Not only did you ruin the chance of getting back with the girl you once loved, but even worse, the people who once thought of you as a semi-normal person will probably never speak to you again. But hey, love works in strange ways, right? At least the musical score makes that final scene a little bit more tolerable in the end. While its fun narrative and niche cast make for a fun ride, a large reason as to why I find OreImo so appealing is in its production. The animation for this series, both in season 1 and in season 2, looks great, and while the names of the production houses change, the difference between the two is barely visible. The show features nice background art, vibrant use of colors, well-drawn characters, and solid animation techniques throughout its 30 episodes. The highlight for me personally in regards to the show's production are its openings and endings. The endings, while sometimes simple, have beautiful artwork, but also can be a lot more diverse to that of an opening styled sequence, while the openings themselves are something I think more series should try to achieve. Each opening has a very similar style to that of the one you just saw previously, with the only difference being details here and there. However, as each new episode rolled around, I wanted to see what new differences would be present in the opening. Would they only do a few changes, or would they change an entire scene based on the event from the episode before it? It's that same feeling I had when I watched the opening for Gun's Sword and others of its kind, where little details can make something that was stale become something entirely refreshing. A lot of effort isn't even required to accomplish this, just moving around scenes here and there to keep the flow similar will do just as much. Along with its high quality animation, I also am a pretty big fan of the tracks used throughout the entirety of the series. Even when they were repeated in almost every single episode, I never found a dull moment in this fun slice of life score. While I love those cinematic and hype tracks, OreImo's musical pieces fit the mold perfectly. The use of trumpets in its Akihabara piece, that sort of snobby feel in its Baka Aniki track. The music gives off that visual novel style that works especially well with this show. Both openings of the series, performed by Kurarisu, I'm not even going to pretend that was even remotely correct, are some of my favorite openings in the entire animated medium. I've listened to these openings off and on for almost 3 years now, and they still are just as catchy and memorable as they were before, especially with irony. The endings of the series, while more forgettable, are extremely diverse, considering there was a new ending theme each episode, and of course the best part of any anime is when Kana Hanazawa voices your favorite girl in the show. I really appreciate a lot of what OreImo has to offer, and I understand that some people will dismiss everything because of the premise, ending, or some other complaint, and that is totally understandable. However, if you scrape off everything but the essentials of what anime is, the first season still has a solid storyline, positive core message, decent character progression, and well done visuals. And even though season 2 deviates to the weirdest places in its second half, with its specials being such a crap fest in the end, I still find the first season to be a worthwhile spot on my small favorites list, despite some moments being a task to get through. If you are interested in watching OreImo, you can check out the series for free over on Crunchyroll. However, the specials are not available on their site, so you will have to watch them elsewhere. Now, what are your thoughts on OreImo? Comment below. If you enjoyed this video, hit that like button, I would really appreciate it. Subscribe for more anime related content, and follow me on Twitter, Kitsu, and my anime list if you're interested. I'm Kent from Spartan Media Reviews, and I will catch you guys in my next video. Thank you for watching.